Welcome back to the neighborhood, boys and girls. Our next guest is Joe Parson. Joe, welcome to the neighborhood.
Jim, thank you for having me.
Joe is one of our insurance trusted vendors. I don't know, vendor's not a nice enough word. What do we call you?
Advisor?
Advisor, an insurance advisor. I love that. It sounds so much better. Joe helps out a lot of our customers here. We have a couple different people we refer people to. So we always try to talk about the personal side of things, and no one really goes into second grade and says, when I grow up I want to be a realtor or an insurance salesperson. So tell us a little bit about like what you did prior to insurance and how you got into the insurance side of things.
So prior to insurance, I was a union printer.
Okay.
So my mom worked for a sizable printing company in Philadelphia, brought me in, still in college, and it was tough getting ink out of your nails, and so I probably did that for 4 years, and then a buddy of mine was working for a State Farm agent over in Philadelphia. They had an opening. He asked me if I wanted to come in. I was probably 26, 27 at the time, and so I went and interviewed with the agent, and I had already known him a little bit just from hanging out in their office with my buddy, and so they brought me on, and the rest is history. So I've been doing insurance since 1999.
Nice.
Yeah. That's State
awesome.
Farm for 15 years, 16 years, I'm sorry, and Goosehead for now almost 4.
Now, Goosehead is totally different than State Farm.
Yes.
So what's the difference to the customer between a company like a State Farm or a Liberty Mutual versus Goosehead or some of the other companies out there that can do a little more shopping?
Well, that's the reason. And so when I was with State Farm, if your homeowner's insurance went up and you came to me and said, hey, my homeowner's insurance went up, I didn't have any options for you.
How about this little piece of cake?
Yeah. I can raise your deductible. I can do some stuff. But the difference with a company like Goosehead is if you call me and say, hey, listen, looks like my rates went up a little bit, I can go back into the system and run new rates for you. And at some point, another company is probably going to have lower rates, similar coverage. And most of the companies that Goosehead deals with, they're all top-rated companies you may not have heard of. They're not the State Farms and the Nationwides of the world. Right. But they don't have the marketing or the advertising budget. But as far as financial ratings, they're all very strong companies. So really, it's the options. Nice. You know what I mean? The ability to take you away from, Travelers and put you with Berkshire Hathaway, or take you away from Berkshire Hathaway and put you with Progressive. So it's really the options that Goosehead offers is what is head and shoulders above the State Farms of the world.
Nice. Now, as a stupid customer like me, I would have no clue what I'm looking for. I would have no clue what a good policy or a bad policy is. So what are some of the things that a customer who's maybe looking at their own policy to find out if they're doing awesome or getting screwed, what are some of the things that you would say, oh, well, check and see this, or look for this, or like with us, it's not necessarily interest rate. A lot of times APR is a better factor for what you're doing. Is there something in the insurance business where you can go, well, look at A, B, C, and D, and that'll tell you whether you have a good policy or not?
Yeah, there's a few things. So, obviously you want to look at how much coverage you have on your dwelling.
Okay.
It's pretty easy to see that, if you have a fairly large building, you should have some pretty decent coverage as far as the dwelling is concerned. You want to make sure you have replacement costs on both your building and your contents. Liability is a big thing. We see a lot of companies that usually do $100,000. When I was with State Farm, plenty of people had $100,000 for liability. Taking that to $500,000 is a difference of $50.
Right.
Some of the endorsements like sewer backup, sewer line coverage, there's sinkhole coverage if you live in an area where there might be sinkholes. Over in Philadelphia, the streets could be, the pipes in the streets could be 150 years old, so sinkholes maybe not too far off.
Right.
But yes, there's quite a few things. Endorsements are one thing, like I said, the sewer backup, the sewer line coverage, liability is an inexpensive way to protect yourself. But yeah, those are things that you can look at somebody's policy and say, even if my rate is not as good, I have no problem saying, hey, listen, you might want to increase your liability, you might want to add sewer backup, you might want to do this. It's still not going to cost you as much as what I have, but it's a much better policy.
Right, right. And what do you think, I mean, in your line of work, I would assume it's very much like my line of work, where numbers are numbers and rates are rates, but really customer service is the key to everything. When someone does a mortgage with me, they're normally buying me, you know what I mean? Like, so what are the things that you do to set yourself apart from other people as far as customer service goes? And I kind of already know the answer to some of it because I'm a customer of yours. So what are some of the things that you do, or how do you set yourself apart from the other 27 insurance guys that they drive by on their way to work?
Customer service is paramount. So I feel like I answer my phone pretty much all day, every day, text messages, whatever it might be, but really it's accessibility. I mean, if somebody needs something, they want to make sure that they can actually get to you. I do have a service group down in Texas. Goosehead has a whole, I mean, it's a whole complex of people that are down there waiting to take calls, but they don't know the clients like I know the clients.
Right.
So it's much easier for me to take a phone call from somebody than it is to send them off to our service department. Now, some things do get sent down there, some of the easier stuff.
Sure.
But if there's a claim, if there's a car accident, somebody's injured, something like that, something that kind of scares the client, you know what I mean? And not just hey, I need to pay my bill, you know, then you need to be there. You need to be able to calm them. You need to be able to make sure that they know that their policy is the right policy, that they have the right coverage, and that they'll be protected.
And you do auto insurance,
Auto insurance,
homeowners insurance,
homeowners insurance,
life insurance,
life insurance.
any other kind of insurance?
If you rent,
If you pet insurance?
I do pet insurance, but it's going to cut off as of August 1st. Umbrella insurance, which is good for liability. If you rent an apartment, there's renter's insurance. If you own a condo insurance. You know, if you live along the coast, we could do insurance on the coast where most companies can't. Flood insurance. So.
What about blanket policies for investors that may have 4 properties and they just want to have?
So we do have some companies that handle that. At least where I'm at in Philadelphia, it doesn't really work just because the age of the buildings are too much.
Okay.
But we do have, like, I believe Travelers is a company that'll do a blanket policy for multiple locations. But like I said, where I'm at, I don't really get that opportunity just because my buildings are 100 years, 150 years old. So.
And now with insurance, is it like mortgage where you have to go and get tested and licensed in every different state that you want to do business in, or
It
do you
is.
just have a U.S. license?
It is, yeah. So I've been licensed in Pennsylvania since I started with State Farm, and just recently, probably in the last 10 years, got my licenses in New Jersey.
Okay.
I have looked at other states, Delaware. I've looked at New York, but it's a tough market to get into.
Yeah.
But yes, so you have to test. You have to every 2 years. You need 24 credits of continuing education to keep your license up.
That's always fun.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so you have to do your test, have to get your licenses, and then your Cs every 2 years.
And you are a Fishtown guy.
I'm born and raised in Port Richmond.
Okay. We
Living
gotta make the classification there. We know how it is over there. I know that I got yelled at when I called something Kensington, and they were like, "It's East Kensington."
Right.
And I was like, "Come on, dude."
Well, if you look at an old map of Philadelphia, that entire area, Port Richmond, Fishtown, Kensington, it's all Kensington.
Right.
And then it just got split up into Port Richmond, Fishtown.
As Kensington got a worse reputation,
Yes.
they were like, "We're out of here. We're Fishtown. We're out of here. We're Port
Yes.
Richmond."
Yes.
And
So-
now they're like, "You're East Kensington."
Right. East Kensington is a kind of, you know, it's.
That's the
it's a
Beverly Hills
fancy place.
Kensington.
Right. It's a fancy place to live if you don't want to live in regular Kensington.
Right. That's the
Fishtown.
high class
Yeah.
homeless people.
So there's Port Fishington, people try and combine all three of them together, but yeah, so there's very distinct borders of Kensington, Port Richmond, and Fishtown, and the people are they're very territorial about them.
Sure, they are.
So.
And I'm a member of a couple of the Facebook groups in Fishtown because our one office is on Frankfurt in Philly, and they are super territorial. You know what I mean? Like, if you try to insinuate something about their fish placard that they have,
Yep.
or you're not respectful about their watering dog bowl outside of the place, they will let you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know specifically, but I seem to think there's a lot of people named Karen that live in Fishtown. I'm not positive. I don't know for sure.
If
but,
they're not, they're definitely labeled that way.
Yes.
So-
It is like super duper tattletale with. Look at this person parked out front of my house. They're taking pictures, put their license plate all over. I'm like, whoa.
Well, the guy walking the raccoon who you commented just walked over your office on Frankfurt Avenue, how many times do you think he gets called on?
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it when I saw that. So I'm looking through Facebook and I'm there and I'm like, oh my God, is that guy walking a raccoon? And I'm like, that guy's literally right outside my office. What do you mean? I've never seen a guy walking a raccoon on a leash in Fishtown. And I was like, man, Fishtown's kind of bougie now.
Yeah.
Like the hipsters are a little. I couldn't imagine like East Kensington maybe you could walk a raccoon, but I don't know about Fishtown. How has the change or the revitalization changed your business, if at all?
Well, I mean, you have a lot of new people moving in. Seems like a lot of new money moving in, a lot more money moving in. I mean, you have to have a good bit of money if you want to buy new construction in Fishtown. So, just dealing with people that are different from the way that I grew up. I grew up in the neighborhood, so I'm familiar with the people and their ideas and their personalities, and so having to work with a new set of residents in the neighborhood. It doesn't really pose a problem. It's just you just have to get used to a different type of person.
Right.
Yep. And they're coming from all over the place. I mean, they're coming from the Midwest. They're coming from the South. I mean, Philadelphia's a pretty hot area. Fishtown is a really hot area in Philadelphia. So it seems like a lot of people want to live there. And
a lot of the people that I've talked to that are coming into Fishtown are New Yorkers who, they have a $3.5 million brownstone that they had to live in New York to work in New York, and then after COVID, they're like, I don't need to live in New York anymore. I'll have to go buy an $800,000 row home in Philly and put my $2 million in the bank, and they think it's like the greatest bargain in the world to come there. And my dad grew up in South Philly, and I called him, and he lives in San Diego now. He's been in San Diego for 20 years. And I was like, hey, Dad, I'm opening up an office in Fishtown. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm opening up an office in Fishtown. He's like, what are you doing, $15,000 mortgages? I was like, no, Dad, Fishtown's like the hottest neighborhood. It's one of the top 5 neighborhoods in the country, Forbes magazine. He's like, get out of here. And he called me back the next day, and he's like, I did some research, and it really was. It's this crazy neighborhood. And then he went into all, like when he was a kid, when he moved here to Jersey, when my mom was pregnant, they had an option to get a house for free in Fishtown.
Right.
If they signed an agreement that they would do $5,000 worth of renovations to the property.
Right.
It was either that or move to Jersey. And I was
Right.
like, nah, I'm moving to Jersey. I don't need a free house. And I was like, man, it must be really bad back then.
And my dad was actually a police officer in Fishtown. Well, the district is in Fishtown. He worked the west side, so he would be closer to Temple.
Okay.
But I would tell him, I said, Dad, listen, and he lives down the shore now. I said, Dad, listen, I said, people are buying row homes in Fishtown, $300,000, $400,000, $600,000, $800,000. And I mean, you could hear him choking on the phone because it was just Fishtown. I mean, the guys that grew up there went to high school with me. It was nothing special. They had a lot more 3-story houses than we had in Port Richmond, but he couldn't believe it. But yeah, it's definitely it's a smoking hot area.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's go. I want to go with some food. What is the #1 undercover people don't know spot in Port Richmond?
In Port Richmond, it would be probably a place called Kitty's at Salmon and Somerset. So it's on the same street as Tacanelli's Pizza, which everybody knows.
Okay.
But Kitty's is a small corner sandwich shop that's been there for quite a while, and their food is just fantastic.
Amazing.
Like world-class soups and sandwiches, and I take my kids there for breakfast, and yeah, I would say, I mean, as far as outsiders that might not know it, Kitty's.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And what place is overrated? What's the place that everybody loves that you don't really love that much?
Not a big fan of Pizza Shack of Maxon, which has gotten a lot of press
Since they were on the
since they were on the
Prez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Prez, exactly, yeah, Barstool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it has to do with you can't just call up and order a pizza. There's a process that has to be followed, so, you know, if you're looking for pizza quick,
Right, you're not getting it
right,
there.
you're not gonna go
Right.
there, exactly.
Right. Yeah,
So-
I've never eaten there. I've driven by it a couple times. Never eaten there. But from the looks of it, it was not the kind of pizza I would like anyway.
Yeah, like I said, it's a process. It is a whole process just to get a slice, so, yeah, it's,
There's I don't know the name of it and I suck, but there's a little Irish bar on Girard.
Murph's.
Murph's. Yeah, that's
Very-
it, Murph's.
Very good Italian, directly across from Pizza Shack in Maxon.
Yeah, right across from there. And it looks like, I mean, listen, almost everything over there looks like a hole in the wall. But it looks like that, and I went, somebody's like, this place has really good food. And as I'm walking up, I'm like, this place cannot have really good food.
Right.
There's no way this place has really good food. And it was slamming.
They
And
do.
they had like really good, it wasn't like, we had the best meatballs. It was like, we had this bacon wrapped, you know, cerise and all this. I'm like, oh my God, it was awesome. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that it's called Murph's, but they're known for their Italian food.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah. It's a really crazy thing that's going on there. Like I'm a super suburb dude. Like my grandma lived in Philly and we came over there like twice a year for holidays and stuff like that. And my uncles lived in Prospect Park or
Right.
Willow Grove, but I'm not a Philly dude. So I've never seen gentrification. I've never seen revitalization.
Right.
And you see the differences, you know, like I played in a hockey league once and filled in right there at the Square Hockey Arena in
Oh,
Fishtown,
at
right
the
off
rec,
of Girard,
yep.
behind there.
Girard, Montgomery.
You know, yeah, and it's like, there's all these little spots and there's all these things, and I guess that's what you call culture, but there's not
Right.
there's not that in Somerville, you know,
Right.
I mean, in Stratford, there's no culture there. There's like 2 pizza places.
Right.
You're either A or B. You either like one or two. It's like Democrat or Republican. There's not like, oh, there's 14 places. Go around here to ask for Susie. This,
Right.
you know. So it's pretty cool to be a part of. I could never. I don't know how you live there. I could never do it. Every time I drive there and go to park, I think to myself, I'd rather beat myself with a hammer than do this, because I hate driving around for 30 minutes trying to find a parking spot. And
Well, believe me, if I could have a half-moon driveway, I would have a half-moon driveway.
Yeah.
But coming here today, I was parked 3 blocks away from my house. So I had to walk 3 blocks just to get in my car to drive
Yeah.
here. So, and if you've lived there your whole life, you're kind of used to it, you know? But it does kind of wear on you when it's raining and you got groceries, or it's raining and you got 2 little kids, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it can be a bit of a pain, but
I had to take a GPS to the person's house, and I literally had the GPS, the walk factor on the GPS, because I had no clue where the hell I was when I finally found a parking spot. I'm like, I don't know where I'm at. I had no clue how to get to where this
Right.
guy is. So after I GPS to his house, after I GPS to the neighborhood, I had to do the walk GPS to go over here. And then I went with Susie Swisher. I went to lunch
Okay.
with Swish, and she lives over there. So we were leaving the place, and she's like, I'm just gonna go home, you know, you can just walk back to the office. I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. Lost. No clue where I'm at. My phone's out.
Right.
My phone dies. It took me like 27 minutes to get a 3-minute walk. I wound up in the little alley behind La Colombe over there. I'm like, oh, okay, now I know where I'm at to go here.
Well, there's kind of no rhyme or reason to the streets in Fishtown. They don't all run north, south, east, west.
Nah,
Some
triangular, cut
triangles.
here,
Yes.
go here, start, stop, one
And-
way.
And where your
Ooh, we
office
gotcha.
is, where your office is on Frankfurt Ave, there's no park. You're not going to park
No.
anywhere near your place. So you're definitely parking far away and walking.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy. And it's actually, we're moving, so.
yeah, I heard.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know if it's public knowledge, but the building sold.
Yeah,
We're moving to, we're finding another place.
in Fishtown.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we're looking at, yeah. So, all right, your last question, personal question.
Yep.
Sports or history?
I was actually a history major
Okay.
in college.
History. All right, so you could go back and have a 30-minute interview with any person who ever lived in the history of time. Who would the person be, and give us like one question that you'd ask them.
Wow, that's a good one. don't know. Let's say it would be a president.
Okay.
I don't know. I might go back and talk to George Washington and ask him what it was like to take that first step and to create something like America. So, you know, obviously I'm not comparing, you know, my trip to his trip.
Sure.
You know, but you know, you open up something brand new from the ground up.
Yeah.
You know, obviously he did it with the country. So yeah, I would probably go back and speak with him and say, you know, like what were your fears? What
was it like to beat them?
Yeah. What were your reservations like? You know, was there any time at any point in time where you thought, well, this, we can't do this. I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd probably go back and speak with him. Probably a pretty good dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That'd be a great interview, for sure. I'd like to see that. Awesome, Joe. Thank you so much for coming by.
Jim, thanks for having me.
We'll be right back with our last guest on Mr. Mortgage's Neighborhood.